Okay, action.
All right, guys. Well, we're here to have a little chat about some of our experiences here at GEA. Just talk a little bit about the time you've had here so far. So up first, I'm curious to know what you guys think. What do you think about GEA is like a differentiator? What makes it a different type of school to be at or to work at, both from the perspective of like you guys, and also maybe from the students as well? What do you guys think makes it a different school?
I mean, like, first as a teacher, having the same group of kids like all day every day is so different from teaching at any other Hag 1 where you just see your kids an hour or 2 hours a week, they come in and go, you're not that big a deal in their life. But here, even working in 6 months, that you can see the difference in the feelings. It's huge.
That's true. Well, especially in the after school program, when usually you would have kids for a 40-minute block switch to a new classroom and then switch to a new classroom. Like at some other schools, I get my kids for 2 solid hours. I can do pretty much whatever I need to get done in those 2 hours because it's enough to have them settle down, focus. It's enough time to wind them down again afterwards. And because we do that a few times a week, there's so much progress that's made. There's no choppiness. It's just all very continuous in all our learning.
As a teacher here, I feel like the biggest differentiator for me was I'm not like the cog in the machine anymore. I'm actually a person, I'm a teacher, and my ideas are heard, which never happened before. Also for my kids, yeah, I connect with them all day. I don't have to switch with a co-teacher, and there's not really that kind of competition between like getting this work done and that work done between the two teachers. It's your class, it's your work, and they respect that a lot.
It's true. Yeah, I find like from the side of the kids, there's like the size of the classes are great. I find like because there's not too many kids in the class, you can really focus on them. They get a lot of individual attention. And then from the perspective of a teacher, I agree with that. Like you get a lot of freedom to be like who you are as a teacher and like employ like your style of teaching, and like they're really open to like suggestions as well. Do you guys find that? Like, do you find like you get to like use your own style of teaching or use your own resources? I know you do a lot of that.
I've been able to implement a lot of things that I didn't even know I was going to use when I first came, but just seeing how the kids are progressing and then going case by case of, okay, I think this is going to help, I think this might help, and switching it up helps me because the kids are now learning different things from different angles, and then also just keeps it interesting for the children so that they can learn from different sources using, whether it's drawing or writing or speaking or acting or singing, just anything that we want to do with them to help them learn. And the more associations they have with certain words or grammar concepts, the better they can apply it. So it's been really great for the kids and for me. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I love it. It's not just academic, because I think in some schools, like, the kids are very robotic. Like, they're just taught to think a certain way or speak in a certain way or answer in a certain way. And I can even tell kids who've come from that school when they come here, because they're so used to being trained with an answer that if I throw them a curveball, they don't know how to answer it.
There's no critical thinking. Like, they don't know how to use their own opinions.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what's really cool here. I feel like there's like a social element. There's like this sort of like using the language in a real life setting, or getting out there and like experimenting with it, using it in your own way, whether that's like writing a creative story or acting something out, or even playing a game that involves using English. Like, I like that a lot.
It's so nice seeing that development. Like, I've had the kids that have come from those schools that are very rigid and square, and they know exactly how to write, and I'm like, okay, that's a great passage of writing or a great speech, but come on, let's think outside the box a little bit, break it a little bit. Don't be afraid to make mistakes,
Well, the other thing is we have the time to do that because we're with the students for so long. We can really maximize the activity and use all that time to get the best out of them, to squeeze it out. And there's also that trust system where we all are really in charge of our classroom. Like, I feel like I am the homeroom teacher. I'm not just a teacher that flies in and out. So there's that trust of, okay, if you need that extra 20 minutes, all right, you don't finish those workbook pages. That's not really the important thing. Make sure you get this concept taught well and thoroughly so they can use it, and you can get to those workbook pages at a later time. And that's so important for the kids to learn, because you can never really plan when they're going to finish something, how long it's going to take. And you need that flexibility. That's something other schools don't really have, is flexibility.
That reminds me too, a lot of other schools do a very strict standardized test. And although we have level tests here, I feel like other schools kind of encourage perfection more than the learning. So here, if the kids make a mistake, we're like, it's okay, you're going to learn from it. I feel like other schools, if your kid doesn't get the right score, it's on the teacher, and you have to tweak it, and it doesn't matter if your child's learning. It just matters what the number is.
That's true.
Yeah, the kid learning is the priority here, and that's just been so rewarding as a teacher too, is being able to know that the school supports the kids learning more than anything, and then being able to see the kids get better because of that, because the school's backing me as a teacher, and in that way they're backing the students too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One point, like, that I was kind of curious what you guys think about as well. One thing that really stood out to me and why I actually applied here, I think, was the fact that it was owned by foreigners. Do you guys think that that makes a big difference in your day? Do you think that's something that also differentiates it as well?
Yeah, I do. Just going in for my interview, like sitting down with Andy and Jenny, I actually felt like they were listening to me and not just going, whatever you want, just sign the contract. It was more like we hear what you're saying and we can relate. And even when I have an idea, I feel like compared to the Korean-owned hagwons I've worked at, this foreign-owned hagwon is way more open to listening to ideas and changing things to fit your class.
It's weird how often you can just bob your head into Andy's office and be like, hey Andy, can we do this? And he's like, yeah, whatever. Whereas in a hagwon or whatever, or another school, to be like, yeah. But that's not how we do it in Korea.
Yeah. Or like you get, like later on, you get like a note about it or something. It wouldn't be as like clear cut or open.
I think there's also like a confidence that comes from being foreign-owned, where like the parents might raise their eyebrows at something that we're doing, but we know that it works because we speak the language, and having owners that also speak the language, and knowing that there's like a Western style education system going on in here makes it so much easier to not have to convince or justify what we're doing. We just do what we do and it works. And that's also really nice to have, because Korean-owned hagwons, they do tend to be scared, like, oh, what if they don't like what we're doing? What if this isn't working for them? And instead of being for them, now it's all about the learning. And that's also great to have.
I feel like there's a sense of us and them in a Korean hagwon, where it's like there's a division between management or even just the Korean staff. Whereas when you're in a foreign-owned hagwon, it's very much like everyone is on the same page.
Yes.
Yeah, I understand.
It's all about the learning. Just education's number one here, and we're given whatever resources we need, the time we need, the printer papers, whatever it is you need. It's all there for us, ready to be used and given to the kids for whatever they want.
And I think also, like, just in the form of like hiring, it's hard to hire someone when you're not a native speaker in that language. It's hard to judge someone's ability as a speaker. It's hard to judge like their personality, like the little qualities, the little like even red flags that you would see as a native speaker. And it's hard to just judge their ability as a teacher if you're someone who's maybe coming from a different cultural background, different language background. It's hard to make those judgment calls. And I think sometimes it works out, but I think for some hagwon bosses who are Korean, they sometimes, like, certain people like that slip through the cracks, and you get certain teachers that aren't necessarily supposed to be maybe in that position. You kind of wonder how they got there. So I feel like there's a much better vetting process in a foreign-owned hagwon.
Sorry.
I was just gonna say, it says a lot to that, because this is the first group of people I've actually really loved working with.
Same.
Like, I like everybody here, and I think a lot of it has to do with that vetting process.
I agree, totally.
Yeah, it's remarkable. I remember coming and arriving, and everybody was ridiculously nice. And I'm like, what am I missing? All right.
What's happening? Well, and everyone's so dedicated to their job too. Like, I'm yet to meet someone who is like, I don't really need to grade this, or I don't really care if they learn this or not. Everyone is looking for new ideas, new ways to teach something, just something to make their class more exciting for the kids to enjoy. And having a team of, or even a family of people that wants to share ideas and sort of combine brain power. So nice. Because it really feels like one tight-knit family of people that all really care about the same goal.
Yeah, and it's like useful having those people. You're like, oh, how can I teach this grammar point today? And there's like 6 people who go, just do this.
Yeah, that's true.
All right,
So
okay.
many ideas.
Yeah, that's true. That's actually another angle too. What do you guys think are like some qualities that teachers should have if they're going to come here? Because it is not like every other hagwon, so there are certain qualities I think that you need to have to work here.
I think you need to definitely be flexible, because things can change so quickly.
Absolutely.
So it is a newer school, which means that we are tweaking things still. So if you are an incoming teacher, just be aware of that. But so everyone here is so cool, like, and laid back.
And if you're used to having everything handed to you on a plate, there are plenty of schools where the lesson plans are there for
Yes.
you, and you're just repeat from a script.
Mhm.
That's not this place. This place is for creative teachers who want to experiment teaching in many different ways.
Well, it makes sense. If you want creative students that think freely and think
Mhm.
independently and can use their language in a creative way, then you have to also be creative. You
Mhm.
can't expect to be a robot and then expect them to not be. So, I
Yeah.
agree, yeah.
And I think passion is one of the biggest ones. And I think for any teacher really who's looking for a career in teaching or even just a short stint as a teacher needs to have that burning desire to do really well, because once you are standing in front of the class, you are pretty much putting on a show for them. No matter what your mood is or what you're going through, you have to be on your, happy, I'm Miss whatever, or I'm Mr. whatever, and you got to do your thing, and the kids have to feel that energy for them to get excited about what you're doing. So I think passion will get you through whatever difficult things you're having of trying to get things, what do you call it? My wording is really bad right now. If you're trying to make a lesson plan that's just not working out, or you're not getting ideas, or you're just having a hard time with something, that passion will get you through it, basically.
Yeah, true. True. I think also there's sort of an appreciation here for like the social aspect of learning too. It's not just about academics. It's like being able to be like a good person, a good human being, like how to get along in the classroom. There's a big push for like character education. Yeah. And I think that also comes back to, like you said, Ariel, having like a passion and being switched on in class and not just being robotic or something, because you do have to care about these kids' development. I think it's not just about getting through the books. It's about these kids are going to grow with you and learn with you and become little human beings that are going into the world. So
they won't get these years back either. So whatever you do is going to shape them forever.
Yeah, it's exactly it. Yeah. Very true.
More questions?
I am on a roll. All right, I'll do Andy's question. So do you guys have any really memorable moments that you've had working at GEA, whether it's like with coworkers or with the kids?
Oh my god.
So many.
It's a hard one.
Coworkers, a lot of our dinners
Mm-hmm.
have been quite hilarious and memorable.
Yeah, that's true.
One of my favorite moments at school was one of my students is very low level, and he was reading a book on his own for the first time, and I was floored and so excited, because I was like, all right, I had a hand in that, and it's just the pride you feel for your student and for yourself. It's really rewarding. So I'll definitely always remember that.
That's so true. I have a student who's very, very bright, but every week I'm sort of shocked at quite how bright he is. It never really occurred to me that he was this level. And every day during circle time we do the day of the week and the weather. And in the last couple months I introduced temperature, which they love saying long words and attempting to say them. And I taught them how to say degrees Celsius and degrees Fahrenheit. And this kid actually wrote in his journal the temperature was 8 degrees, or negative 8 degrees Celsius. And the spelling was all wrong, but it was so cute and so phonetic, which just means he's applying everything I've taught them, and he's constantly thinking about it. It's in his sort of inner conversation, which is great. And to think that they're thinking about us after school too, when they're outside the walls here, is pretty fascinating.
We're a huge part of their lives.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I think for me, one of the most memorable was one of my students. We had read a book in class, and I knew he liked it, but I didn't know to what extent that he really enjoyed it. And so he had gone home, and I guess he was just going on and on about this book. And so his grandmother took a video of him talking about it, and he literally just was reciting and then going off book and like making his own story with it. His entire story. Like he was talking for like 2 or 3 minutes, just like following the plot of the story, and then kind of going off on his own sort of direction with it, and then like supplementing in dialogue, and he said, she said, and it was just, I was so shocked. I was just sitting here watching this kid have a monologue because she had sent the video to me, and I was just blown away that he had taken that home and that stuck with him so much and so deeply that this was like the next day and he was just going on about it for so long. It just
so cute.
Yeah, it had a really strong impression on me how much they take away, because I don't think you realize it. They just leave and you think, well, they're a kid, they're just gonna go have fun or whatever. But they really do remember.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
I love it when they come back the next day with another question.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like, we teach science and it's great fun, and they get bits of it. And then we were talking about the universe. And the next day, one of my kids came back and was like, "But John teacher, what happens at the edge of the universe?" Amy, I don't know. Nobody knows. And she's like, she wasn't happy with that. So I explained the Big Bang to her. She was thinking about this for a minute. She was like, "What happened before the Big Bang?" I was like, "Nobody knows, Amy." And she was angry, and she was like, "I'm going to be a scientist." I'm like, all right.
Super cute. Well, I had a magical moment where, and this happens actually quite often, but the first time it happened, I teach my students a new song every week, and it matches the theme, and this is one of my sort of, I almost want to call it an experiment, where I want to see how many associations I can give them for each word they know in English. So, we had one week where our theme was mirrors, so I taught The Man in the Mirror by Michael Jackson, and they loved it, of course, and a couple of weeks after we learned that song, we had already moved on to the next theme, and we're sitting in class, and we were talking about mirrors again, and one kid starts going, starting with the man, and they all joined in, and within 10 seconds, the whole class is singing while they're writing, doing their work, but saying, "I'm starting with the man in the mirror," and just singing, and I just let it go, because it's so cute, and it's so natural, and it's just, that's what's going on in their head, because they have all this around them. It's creative, it's interactive, it's what they need as children. They don't need workbooks, they need something they can relate to.
I agree.
Yeah.
That's true. This is the first time I've had my students on their own try to do a creative writing. I've never seen that before, and I think a lot of it has to do with the atmosphere at GEA and just the openness and encouragement to create and do your own thing. It's really cool.
What do you guys think in terms of off the book type activities? Do you think work well, or what are some things you enjoy doing with the kids? I know we do a lot of games, not in just running around playing, but English related games. What do you guys find works really well with the kids? Is it songs? Is it games? Is it
I think it has to be a combination.
Yeah, we do a lot of phonics games that work really well.
Yeah.
I think it depends on the level, it depends on the age, and even the group of children, because each class has its own dynamic and its own personality. But
That's true.
Combining songs, maybe some reading games. I've found that memory games work really well. We all sit at a big table with all the cards, and it's just one big game of all of us trying to remember where the cards are, and that kind of stuff makes you feel closer to after, because when they cheer on their friends for finding a match and they get cheered on for finding their own match, there's that sort of teamwork, we're all in this together feeling going on. So that's worked well, and it helps their English.
My kids really get a kick out of situational games. One that they still beg me to do for all the time. I've been doing it for months and they never get sick of it. Is the pet shop game, which is literally just we set up whatever we can find, chairs or desks, and we just make a pet shop area, and some of the kids pretend to be the animals and some of the kids pretend to be the customers, and then one kid pretends to be the shopkeeper, and then they switch places, and they love to just come in and ask questions about the animals, and what do they eat and how much do they cost, and they ask for discounts, and they ask for can I pay with my card, and it's just it's really interesting, how much they just love this real life scenario, pretending to be mommy or daddy, going to the shop. They love that, and it's great. They will play it for as long as I let them. I have to stop them because they'll just keep doing it in circles. So they'll just keep switching.
I find in times like that's when the kids are asking so much. Teacher, how do I say this? Teacher, how do I say this?
Yeah.
And they want to know more words, because these are situations when they want to learn new stuff. More than just the grammar book,
Well, they practice more with each other, I think.
Yeah, totally.
It's great. They need to do that. It can't just be interaction with the teacher, which is what I find in a lot of schools I've been in. It's just me interacting with one kid, me interacting with another kid. It's not. There's not a lot of interaction between each other, and that's so important, because they're of the same age, they're of the same mindset. They are friends with each other, or they want to be friends. They need that level of interaction as well, because that's what kids are getting back home. That's how we're learning. We learn through social interaction. We learn through hanging out with their friends. It's so important that they're interacting with people their own age as well. Yeah. That's a huge part in what helps them develop their language.
Well, they get exposed to the teachers that they see at school. So what I've also done to sort of show them there's a whole world that speaks English, not just this school, and it's not just English Hagwons, is I've had them send letters to my family. I've had them send letters to kids their age that I know from back home. I've had them do video chats with my family, so they get to ask real questions in real time. And they sort of see what works and what doesn't. My dad's not going to laugh when you say, "Do you have a banana in your fridge?" That only works in our class. So they sort of learn what real humor is and what's silly humor. They learn other little nuances that they might not get just by staying in the classroom. And they learn how to speak a little more formally. They learn little things that they might not be able to otherwise. And that's been really, really effective. And they love it. They love seeing reactions. They love hearing other people speaking English that they're not used to. I know they love hearing accents. That's for sure.
They love copying accents too.
Yeah, they love it. Yeah. So like even that, just talking to them is so much fun. So talking to each other, talking to people they don't know yet, talking to other teachers, like what are you eating for lunch? That I know they love that kind of stuff.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. What about activities or special events, field trips, things like that? Do you feel like those are also good opportunities for the kids to learn, I guess, in not like a traditional class setting?
Yes.
Well, stuff like when I think about Halloween or Christmas, doing those activity days, it also introduced them to different cultures. Like my kids, they're beginner 6, but they still were so excited for Halloween, and they were actually asking questions about what is Halloween, how did it start? And I just found myself going down this rabbit hole of explaining the history of Halloween, which they're still repeating back to me. It's amazing.
It's true.
And I feel like if we didn't have events like those or activity days, it wouldn't really start the conversation as much as it did.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, as adults, we forget how important those countdowns are. Like, they start counting down their birthday on their birthday. You know, they're waiting for the next one. So when Halloween finishes, they're already waiting for the new Halloween. So, like, having these big events are such great sort of time markers for them where they can sort of remember all the excitement from that day, and it carries through till the next one, and it gives them something to look forward to.
And look back to as well.
And look
Or,
back to, yeah.
Comes the end of this semester now, and I'm like, okay, what was your favorite thing in GEA? And they're like, the trip to the park, Halloween, Christmas. And I'm like, all right, cool, we'll write some stuff about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like those field trips as well because I feel like it's a really good bonding opportunity for the kids. Like the field trips, especially the park, I feel like it's such a great chance just to like let them be kids and have fun. And I think that's another thing about the school is like they can do that. They're allowed, like if they want to go see dinosaurs in a museum, or if they want to
Go to the post office.
go to the post office
Yeah.
and mail a letter, or if they want to go to the park and play some, mind you, English games, but they're still playing.
And run around.
And
Water
run around
guns
and
and
water
stuff.
gun
That was
fights.
creepy.
Yeah, water fights and throwing water balloons at me and like I'm
Being
so
kids, yeah.
happy to let them do that because that way they don't burn out and then they do still learn a lot. It's just that way they're getting a chance to also breathe and be a kid because you can still learn a language and be a kid at the same time.
You know, living in Korea and in this culture, a lot of our kids, I've noticed, don't really get that chance. And it's nice that they can associate learning English with something very fun that'll keep it going as they get older. Like, I think back to the water gun day, and one of my kids was so freaked out about dirt. Like, oh my gosh, when I was a kid, I was covered head to toe in dirt.
Yeah.
And just like the fact that he's learning at school that it's okay to be a kid, it's okay to get dirty, we'll wash it off, you know, you'll be fine. But I think if they went to a different hagwon, they wouldn't really get that chance.
It would be very structured, I
Yeah.
think. It would be very it would be very structured. It would not have that sort of flexibility or that freedom for them to just still be a kid,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
important.
Yeah. And I think I think at other Hogwarts also we think of it as something small, but being able to go outside even for a short walk, doing treasure hunts, doing or scavenger hunts, doing all of the little activities that we don't put much thought into perhaps, but they take out so much from it. And they will remember it for a long time, and even if they don't, they'll still have some good associations later on. And I think that'll help them love English for a lot longer. And a lot of them are headed for a lifetime of very intense studying. So I think it's good to give them some breathers while we can and sort of have our classrooms be an oasis for them where they don't have to feel stressed out or worried or like they're under a microscope. They're just being themselves, and we're helping shape them into English speakers with manners. Little people, as you said.
Little people, little members of society.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know if that's, I mean, that's great. I think I think we covered a lot of it.
Come to GEA.
Come to GEA.
We'll be nice. We don't bite.
So thanks for taking your time
Yeah.
to come talk to me about that. And I mean, it all sounds good. I think we covered pretty much the major areas at least, and appreciate it. And I hope someone sees this and understands that, yeah, it is a very unique and special opportunity for, I think, the teachers and for the students.
Yeah. Schools like this do exist. They're not just like somewhere floating on the internet, like, oh, I went to this great school, and that's it. Like, this is, we are here.
It's here.
There are 2 buildings, not just one. We are here. Yeah, it's a great school.
Awesome. Thank you guys. That was great.
Hey.
Wow. I'm gonna like cry a little bit.
Because it was so
Touching.
Yeah, you guys are awesome.
So long.